Hi folks, this is Vince with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today we're going to take a quick look at the board game Royals. This game supports 2 to 5 players. It's for ages 14 and up, and the average play time is about 60 minutes. As far as your components are concerned, you've got one game board, 126 cards, 58 markers, 200 wooden cubes, and a rule book. And as far as the box insert goes, this is what it looks like. There's a place for everything, so I'm really happy about that. This is what the instruction booklet looks like. It's fairly big. You've got, sorry I bumped the camera there, it's about 8 pages, but as you can see it's pretty large. But the game is really simple to play. It's basically an area control game. You're going to be putting cubes of your color. Here's the baggie of cubes, and basically players choose a color and receive a set of those cubes. But you're going to use your cubes to put onto these various cities here. You've got like Paris, you've got Cologne, Berlin, Vienna, I can't pronounce half of these. Barcelona, Dublin, Edinburgh. But yeah, so you're going to be putting your cubes onto these cities, particularly onto these people here to insert your influence. I'll get into that in a little bit. But you've also got countries: Britain, German states, France, and Spain. Now, the reason why you've got countries and cities is because there is a deck of cards, and you're going to remove so many cards from the game based on how many people are playing. But this is the reverse side. You've got red color, yellow, blue, and green, and that matches the different colors of the countries on the board. And basically, you're going to be playing these cards in order to play cubes onto those respective countries. Okay, and then by doing so, you'll earn these tokens here. Speaking of tokens, there's a bunch, as you can see here. I don't have all of the board shown here just because it's a large board, and I've got more components off to the left-hand side that I want to show you. But there's these square ones over here. I'm just going to sort of move the camera slightly that way. Okay. So you've got these period scoring tokens, and that basically is representative of the 3 different rounds in the game. Whenever you go through the entire deck of cards, sort of, again, these sort of represent cards of these countries, and it reminds me a little bit of Ticket to Ride that way. But as you go through an entire deck of cards, that'll signal the end of a round, and that's when players earn these tokens here. And in case you're confused about what goes where, you can see green, yellow, red, and blue, so that's how that's separated. And then on each space here, there's a number that tells you exactly where these things should go. So there's no confusion. Each of these spaces, there's a 2 here, so this blue 2 goes here. There's a 3 here, so this yellow 3 goes here, and so on. So you've got your square tokens for the 3 different rounds or 3 different periods. You've got your hexagon tokens, which have numbers on it as well, and those are for your individual cities. The first player to put a token of their color onto a city will earn that particular token, and that'll be used for endgame scoring, just like these will. And then you've got these shield-like tokens. There's 2 of them for each country, and the first player to get a token on each of the cities, onto each of these cities, will earn one of these, the highest one, and then the second player to do so will earn the second highest one, like so. Now, that does not count anyone who may be in a cathedral who is dead. Basically, whenever you, let's say that black was in control of this person here, this influence, he played cards appropriate to be able to put a cube onto blue. He decides to put it here. He could also put it here too, or here, whatever. But let's say he had a black cube here. Another player kicked him out of that location. Purple, say, and then the black cube would end up coming here onto the cathedral. That does count during scoring later on, but it does not count toward this country bonus here. So that's just one thing to take into consideration. Again, that was just a general example. I'll get into more of that later. You've also got these scoring circles off to the side. A number of these will come up depending on how many people are playing the game. There's 8, 12, and 16. In a 2-player game, for example, you only play with the 8 here. And again, there's an 8, 12, and 16 on these spaces in case you get lost. Now, you've also got different numbers on these. I'm going to zoom in for a minute so you can see this. But you've also got different numbers on these different people here. So this person, for example, you need 2 blue cards in order to put a cube of your color onto this space. And that'll exert you 2 influence during scoring purposes. And that's important. So that's what that's all about. And then off to the left-hand side here, you just go ahead and move the camera over without trying to shake it too much. You've got basically these puzzle piece tiles here that represent the people that are on the board. Like here's London up here. There's a king that represents that. Anytime you claim a location on the board with one of your cubes, you also put a cube of your color onto that space. Even if he dies later on, let's say purple kicks him out and he goes into the cathedral, that purple cube, again, we'll go here, but that black cube will stay on this space. And this is used for endgame scoring right here, these puzzle pieces here. But again, I'll get into that later. So there's that. You've got those, and these match, again, the different people that are on the board. This deck of cards I've already shown you. Again, like Ticket to Ride, represent the have colors of the 4 different countries in the game. You've got these Intrigue cards, and that's how you take over someone else's location on the board. You'll see 2 different shields of that color. And basically, what you would do is, in order to take someone over, let me go ahead and zoom in on an example here. Let's say that I've got, let's see, purple is here. I would need to play 5 cards of the red, or this is blue. So I need to play 5 blue cards, and then I need to play 1 Intrigue card that had a shield of the matching color. So I need to play 1 of those Intrigue cards, and then 5 blue cards from this deck here. And then I'd be able to kick purple out into the cathedral and put 1 of my cubes here, and then onto the matching person on the left-hand side there on the puzzle piece. So that's how you kick someone out, and that's what the Intrigue cards are all about. By the way, kings need 2 Intrigue cards, so kings are harder to kick someone out of. All right, so again, there's a lot going on here. In the beginning of the game, you'll draw 3 of these cards here, face up, sort of like in Ticket to Ride, so that people can choose from those cards whenever they're, on their turn, whenever they go to draw cards from the deck. And that's basically the components and how game setup works. Game setup is varying slightly depending on how many people are playing. Like, you'll remove so many cards from this deck based on how many people are playing, because in a 2-player game, rounds, again, don't end until you go through the entire deck. And in a 2-player game, that could take a while. So you're going to remove so many cards from the deck of each color, depending on how many people are playing the game. All right, and that's the gist of game setup. Let's go ahead and show you how the game is actually played. Now, despite the fact that the board looks very busy, player turns are actually very simple. You have 2 choices for the first part of your turn. You can either draw 3 cards from the deck of country cards here, or from these face-up country cards here. As you draw from the face-up pile, you cannot replace them immediately. So if I won the blue one, for example, I take that. Then I have my choice between green and yellow, or just choosing from the deck. Or instead of that, I can pick up 1 country card and then 1 Intrigue card. So I have a choice of either or. Now, for the very first turn of the game, it's going to be a little bit different. The starting player receives 1 card, the second player receives 2 cards in a 2-player game. There is a chart in the rulebook that tells you how many cards you're allowed to draw based on the turn order, but that's just sort of to give the first player a disadvantage and the last player more of an advantage. But yeah, in general, you have a choice: 3 cards from here, or 1 card from here and 1 card from here. So players are going to do that at the beginning of their turn, and then after that, you can play cards. Now, that is optional. I'm just going to grab some cards here so I can show you maybe how to play something. All right, I've got some red, I got some green. All right, so let's just do red. Red here. Okay, so I've got some red cards here. I'm going to look and see how many cards I need. Okay, so for example, there is this City of Dublin up here. This lady here needs 3 cards. It only exerts 1 influence, whereas this guy up here needs 4 cards and exerts 2 influence. So I'm going to go ahead and play my 4 cards. This is, again, optional. Put it into a discard pile, and then put a cube of my color. Let's say I'm white. Put a cube of my color there, and then a cube of my color onto the matching, that's the Duke. So I'm going to put them on the Duke space there, if you can see that. Yeah, you can. Okay. So that's basically how that would play out. But again, you're not required to play cards. You do have a hand limit. You do have a hand limit of 12 of these country cards and 4 Intrigue cards. At the end of your turn, you have to discard down to that particular amount. Now, you can also use 3 cards as any color you want. So let's say that I really needed a red card. When playing that, I could trade these. You can trade 3 in of any color in order to use it as a wild and make it a different color. Same with your Intrigue cards. If you happen to have 2 Intrigue cards, let's say you've got green and yellow here, but you needed to use a red Intrigue, you could trade in 2 Intrigue cards to make this red, and then you can play it as a red. So that you do have some options there, but it's sort of inefficient. You know, sometimes it's better just to wait for the card that comes up. But it's up to you, whatever strategy you want to employ. And that is basically the gist of how a particular turn plays out. Players are going to continue to do this until this deck runs out, and that'll signal the end of a round. Okay, now in terms of scoring, there's a lot of different ways to score points in this game, and I apologize, I've got people outside next to my house loading wood onto a truck, so if you hear loud noises, I apologize. But anyway, a lot of different ways to score points in this game. The first player, for example, to put a cube of their color onto a city will score the point, this hexagonal one here. Put it in front of them, and they'll save it for the end of the game. That's a victory point value there. You can also earn victory points by being the first player to have a cube in each city, in which case you take the highest one. If that's not available, you take the second highest one there. You also earn victory points at the end of a round via these over here. And basically, that's where these influence numbers come into play. Players are going to take a look at each of the cubes that they have on these various cities, and on each person. There's 2 influence here, 1 influence here, 2 influence here. So if you have the most on Paris, on the king's spot, you get 4 influence, and you'll count that up. And the person with the highest influence will get the highest square token here at the end of that round. And again, there's 3 rounds. And you'll do that for each country. The second most highest influence for that particular country will receive that. So there's 3 different ways to score those tokens. Now there's also tokens over here. The first player to get all of their tokens onto these people off to the left-hand side here, which let me just move the camera over. So if I had a cube here, 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 and here, I would, if I'm the first person to do that, I would score the highest one here, which is 16. Second player to do that gets the 12, and the next player to do that gets the 8. So it's another way to score points. And then finally, at the end of the game, the player with the most cubes on a particular card, a particular person here, scores the number down here in the lower right hand corner. So 16 points, which is pretty good. If there is a tie, like let's say I had 3 white cubes and 3 orange cubes on here, so me and my opponent tied, you take these apart, that's why they're puzzle pieces, and you each earn 8 points in the bottom right hand corner here. Otherwise, you just get the bonus that's on the very front here. So basically, at the end of the game, you're going to take all of the tokens that you've earned during the game, and at the end of each round, again, these are the round specific ones, these are the during the game specific ones here, these 3 over here, and these city and country ones here. And then also the points that you would earn from each of these people at the end of the game. Add all of those up, and the person with the most points will win. And that's basically the gist of it. There are some rules that I didn't cover, but hopefully that gives you a good idea as to how the game is played. As far as what I thought, Royals is an excellent, excellent game. It's very simple, very colorful. I had no trouble picking this up, even though I was sort of intimidated by the large rulebook. Like, oh my god, what did I get into? But it's only 8 pages long. Had this been a smaller rulebook, it'd probably be like more like 12 or 13 pages. And like I said, there's construction people outside to the right there, so I apologize if you're here and stuff. But it's a very simple game. You're going through this deck of cards, which is reminiscent of Ticket to Ride. Again, in Ticket to Ride, you're putting cards of the same color down to put trains in between 2 cities. In this game, you're simply laying cards of the same color down in order to put cubes onto these various people here, and in turn onto the cubes, or you can put cubes off to the left-hand side, which matter for endgame scoring. So yeah, it's very simple to play. It's if you know your colors. The only downside is that if you're colorblind here, you may have a difficult time trying to determine, you know, which color is which based on the cards. But luckily, there's symbols here. There's like a double-headed, not sure what the hell that is, eagle. You've got some lions on this one, so if you can sort of memorize, okay, these 3 shapes here represent blue, and this crest here, the castles and the lions or whatever, the griffin represents yellow, like you'll be okay with that. And that matches this here. But still, there's some color blindness here with these tokens. So you may experience some issues, but luckily there are there's imagery around the board to help players get around that, which is kind of nice. But yeah, overall, I think this is an excellent game. I really found no fault with it. The cards themselves are very easy to shuffle and to mix up, so there's no problems there. Good quality. And it's very well balanced, too. Like, again, there's some luck in the cards that you pick up, but at the same time, like in Ticket to Ride, there are some cards face up that you can take from on your turn. You don't refill them during your turn, but at the end of your turn, your opponent will fill them up for you. And then when it's your turn, you can either take from here or take from the deck, like in Ticket to Ride. So you're going to have plenty of choices, which is kind of nice. You're not just drawing blindly from the deck and hoping to get the color that you want. No, you do have some choices by drawing from here. And of course, you can, instead of picking up from here and going after these cities, you can take Intrigue cards, mess up your opponents, kick them out, move them over into the Cathedral. So, and by the way, tokens that are in the Cathedral will also count toward certain bonuses. I didn't cover that in the rulebook here, but it does count in some situations. So yeah, do I recommend Royals? Absolutely yes. It's a very fun game. I really enjoy playing it, and it's something that you should pick up. It's a light to moderate area control kind of game in which there's multiple different ways to score, and the strategy here is, okay, am I going to go after country bonuses by trying to focus on, let's say I want to focus on France, and just try and get a cube of my color on each of that so I can claim this. Or maybe I might want to concentrate on just spreading out and trying to get all of these high ones. Like, here's a city bonus that is worth 7, so maybe I want to save up a bunch of green cards so I can claim this lady over here. And you need 6 cards for this lady, which exerts 2 influence. The king has 8 cards at 4 influence, and you don't have to have the king in order to pick this up, as long as you have a cube on the city itself of Vienna. So you can spend 6 cards just to claim this, even though you're getting lower influence for it. So you can just go around getting the higher influence from each of the different 4 countries and go that route. Or, again, you can try and focus on influence so that at the end of a round you can get the most points via these square ones down here at the end of each round, which is really cool. And also spreading yourself out via these different people is also a good idea, because being the first player, again, to put a cube of their color on each of these cards will earn you these points over here. So there's a lot of different ways, like I said, to score points and to think about what you're going to do. And I think that's where the crux of the game is just figuring out what strategy you're going to go for and trying to figure out what your opponent's trying to do. And your strategy may change based on the cards that you're picking up. So yeah, there's that. So yeah, Royals, a lot of fun. Go get it. Definitely high marks from me. If you guys want to see actual gameplay, let me know. I'm sure Vinny and I will get there at some point. If you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and check out my official website, www.dadsgamingaddiction.com. This is Vince. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.